Hello, happy Monday. I'll just say Monday. Welcome back to another episode of Seek Therapy Podcast. It is me, Jasmine. I am here with my girls, Jasmine and America.
Hey
So,
y'all,
how
hey.
are we doing, ladies? Let's check in. What's been our highlight? What's been our challenge?
You can go first, Jasmine, with E.
Well, my
Oh,
challenge first
oh,
is my audio.
oh. It's giving, yeah.
And trying to get a discount on a HP computer at Target, and it's just
Jasmine, please.
working for me.
I can.
So that's an issue because I like things to be in uniform. I digress for our listeners. Uh, another challenge this week has been I've landed an awesome new job. I'm one of the workforce folks that could say they switched positions, doubled their income, got better
I know
benefits.
that's right.
Come on now,
Period.
get into
Uh,
it.
and so it's that awkward phase of like going through like the HR steps, getting on
Ugh.
board.
Mm-hmm.
And just give me a start date so I can leave my current position.
Yep. That
Mm-hmm.
So
was my struggle too, girl.
right is holding on and being responsible. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
not just being like, fuck that shit and flipping over your desk.
And picks up all the papers because you need it.
Right.
Exactly.
Look,
Exactly. Pick them up and like, oh, I just made a scene.
then you gotta apologize for making a scene and for doing
Exactly.
the most. Yeah,
The
Right.
go
whole
ahead. Say yourself.
Well, congrats on that new job. That is
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes. And I'm excited for the kids to have you.
Come on now.
Oh, I guess I didn't mention I'll be a seventh grade social studies teacher.
Woo woo.
Period.
I'm here to teach the children, walk through nature with them.
I love it.
So I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this, but what about that whole critical race situation? Like,
Yikes.
wasn't
Um,
that banned in
I get
Texas?
this. So I am curious to see how the school, what supplies or study plans that they supply for teachers and what parameters they expect. Now, I will say the campus is very diverse, which is something that I'm also looking forward to. So there's a lot of cultures. They celebrate culture at this campus. It's a STEM campus.
Hmm.
Uh, so I feel like with it being social studies, it's not, I think the state test, whatever it is here, they've changed it so many times the name. I don't think my subject at this grade level is state tested on. So I
Hmm.
think that gives room to be creative with them and make it enjoyable and really just build connection. That's one thing I'm going to take from counseling into teaching.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because I couldn't tell you a thing that I learned in seventh grade.
Not the same.
Another thing. But you know what? I remember it being fun.
I
You
don't.
know, uh,
Mm-mm. Can't relate.
I
At
moved
all.
around. So, like, I went to three different middle schools. I was in a different sixth, seventh, and eighth, like, school
Mm.
Damn.
years because my dad was in the military. So,
Right.
I was the new kid. I was like the fresh, shiny one. And, That's So Raven was hot out and there wasn't that many black kids. So maybe they just got really excited for that.
Not they schools that's so Raven.
Well,
That's so crazy.
That was my shit. I'm not even gonna hold you.
there wasn't a lot of where we moved to suburbs. And so here's a black girl. I watched That So Raven. It's the same thing, right?
Oh, there we go. There was
Oh,
like a
we're back.
little distortion
Girl, I've
happening.
been all time.
So that is consistent with your challenge, you said. So
It's still a challenge.
it's given. We're gonna get it
Thanksgiving
together.
struggle. All right.
Uh, so I guess I'll go ahead and
Mhm.
check in. My challenge this week has been, oh, I had like a whole email fiasco on Friday. So Thursday I had a meeting at 10:30, but I knew I had a meeting at 11. And so when the person emailed me about the meeting at 10:30, I said, "Hey, I'll be there for 20 minutes, but I do have a meeting at 11." So, Friday morning, I wake up to an email, well not wake up, but as soon as I get to the school, 7:45 in the morning, to an email from the assistant principal CCing my supervisor and the principal saying, "Hey, you left the meeting at 10:55 yesterday and it was very important. Did you have some other meeting to go to? What is this protocol?"
Mm.
The
Boy,
protocol.
then be the
Not
one.
at not at 7:45 in the
Right?
morning.
Because you was that hot for almost 24 hours ago. Mm.
And you saw me multiple times yesterday, so
Mm.
why wasn't there a question? Oh, you and why are you wanting this paper trail? So,
Right. It's the
what I did So what I did, I said, "Oh, hi, I'm not sure you were able to read the email that I sent the same day
Oh,
saying that I had a meeting at 11 a.m. I did let you know beforehand, and then I proceeded to outline the protocol because I know what the fuck I'm doing."
period.
So, you got the wrong and the right one simultaneously, bitch.
Correct. Get the fuck into it. Okay. So,
so, So then I proceeded to forward the said email to him, my supervisor, and the principal, right?
mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks for your prompt response and outlining the protocol. Crickets.
Of course.
So that was a challenge for me because it's like, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
As a new person here, like you want
Right.
to start the year off with that
Yep.
kind of energy whenever I'm the wrong bitch to do that with, because
They
I
wanted to
will
see.
always cover my ass.
Yep. They wanted to see. That's all. Now they know. They
yeah.
want
And
to
you
do
do
it.
know. And
Yeah.
the thing about it is that the principal knows who my mom is because my mom is high up in the district.
Oh.
Mm.
So don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, don't do that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm literally not the one.
Period.
So that was my challenge. But my highlight is that I was able to work with some students this week. And I think specifically yesterday, I was able to have like tangible evidence that what I'm talking about, I know
Come
and
on
is
now.
real and it work.
Come on now.
No.
And so the student was like, "You right."
Period.
And I love being able to help black kids
Mm-hmm.
because too long have we gone and fallen through the cracks and
Yep.
not gotten the support. And so I'm glad that I'm able to provide that support to the students because I can relate. I know what you're going through. Like, I'm not old. I
Right.
talk like you. I
Yeah.
know who the fuck uh 21 Savage is. I know. Like
Period.
and so that has been a highlight and I have like kind of a lot of highlights, but
That's
I
beautiful.
got I got tatted yesterday.
Yeah.
Hustle
Yes.
and
We've been
motivate.
waiting on this. This is a
I gotta share mine too then. Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Yes.
I got
So I
excited.
got tatted. I started this year off with 4 tattoos and now I'm at 11.
We love to see it. We love
And
a
I'm gonna be
tatted
at
queen.
20. I'm about to be at 20 before the year is up. So
We
that's
love a
that.
tatted queen.
And then my last highlight is that I got to hang out with Eric and my friend Ashley. And we went to brunch yesterday. And it was my first time seeing Eric because he had a world tour for his birthday month. He went to Chicago, to Tulum, to Palm Springs. So
We
he
love to see it, a
been
traveling
booked and
queen.
busy.
Yes.
And so I finally got to hang out with him, right? And so I give him his gift And I'm so excited because I got him the Beyonce vinyl and I got me the Beyonce vinyl. And I got him some other stuff too. And he's like, bitch, why did I order a Beyonce vinyl for you and me and
Oh,
it's in the mail? I said, I love us for real. So now we both got two Beyonce vinyls.
I love it.
um, so
Yeah.
that was very nice because I feel like I've talked about this before. Like I feel like the friends that I have now are just like amazing.
Hmm.
And that is just a prime example. Like he's on his birthday trip, see the Beyonce vinyl on sale, and he like, oh, let me get this for me and Jasmine.
Hmm.
And that's the energy that I deserve because I give it
Yeah.
too. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really good for me. What about you, girl? How
I love
your
it.
week been?
It was good. I think my what stands out to me this week anyway is my highlight and my challenge have been intertwined. And so I know last week you talked a little bit about social media and that being a highlight and a challenge for you. And I think that showed up for me this week and really trying to renegotiate with myself how I show up in the social media space. And really finding that line between I'm gonna show up as myself. So that means you're gonna get the head turns and the clicking and the clacking, and the occasional fucking shit here and there, depending on how I feel. Um,
Period.
but then also trying to figure out what does that mean? Is that negatively impacting the brand that I'm trying to build? Like I know I've missed out on a lot of opportunities because I don't mask like I used to once upon a time. And
Mm-hmm.
so really just trying to figure out, I still have a lot of opportunities and I have a lot of stuff in the pipeline in the next couple months. But still really just trying to renegotiate what that means. Like, do I need to make adjustments or should I continue showing up the way I do? Because it's low key impacting my bag. Well,
What do you mean?
on a bigger, I want to do more like speaking engagements, right? And so I've been booked for quite a few this year and then have some things coming up next year. But in my mind, it should be even more because I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And so I think because of how I show up on social media, people might think that when I'm giving a workshop, I'm gonna be like, bitch. And it's like, no, I wouldn't.
No.
I mean, I can,
Right.
but I wouldn't, right? And so I sometimes I feel like that may impact that space. But then I'm also in the place of I believe in authenticity. And so if I'm
Right.
masking and I'm showing up in a way that isn't like how my therapeutic style and approach is, then that's not me being authentic. And so I think the reason why my practice has been successful literally from week 2 is the fact that I show up as me. Right. And so I
Right.
want to continue to show up as me. It works in terms of the clients that I serve. I stay booked and busy. I have the longest wait list of, like ever. So like it works there. But then also, how do I transcend that? Because I don't want to do one-on-one work forever.
Mhm.
Right.
It's not going to be sustainable for me to do one-on-one work
Right.
forever.
Right.
Seeing 35, 40 people a week, and I've been doing that for 3 years, like, oh shit, man.
Right.
So figuring out how to navigate this space so I can change the work that I do a little bit. That
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
What would you say?
I said, did that make sense?
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think with everything going on, like, oh girl,
Mm-hmm.
that I messaged you about,
Mm-hmm.
it just really got me on my toes, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because before I could just hop on and not think twice about it. And now I'm like, oh, what do I want to say? Like, what is the
Mm-hmm.
message that I'm trying to convey?
Right.
And making sure that I'm saying it in a way that is authentically me, but
Mm-hmm.
also people wouldn't find offensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard because, like, obviously, like, I want to be myself. I'm going to be
Right.
myself, period. But just doing so in a way that continues to show, like, duality.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to offend people, especially on an internet in a platform in which people more than likely are reading things looking to be offended.
Mm,
Right. Wanted to
mm-hmm.
be offended.
That, but the social media climate is, especially Twitter, um, can be that way. You know, it's a fine line of like what's funny, you know, what's pop
Mhm.
culture, and like people just trolling.
Mm.
Right.
Can do is be yourself. Yeah, that's what I think, and just be authentic in a on the internet that's not authentic. It's a
Mm.
tricky.
Ooh, it
Yeah,
is.
it is.
Oh, I never thought about it like that, but thank you for saying that.
But it even shows in the numbers if we keeping it a stat, because most of the authentic people who show up on the internet, following is smaller than others who may not be as authentic. But
Yep.
they do what works for
Right.
the algorithm, and they do what works. Like,
Right.
oh, people want to hear about this. Well, I really don't know shit about it, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway.
But I'm gonna
Because,
just say some shit.
right, because that's what's getting people's attention. So you're
Yeah.
Right.
right.
And meanwhile, clients talking about, oh, I saw this TikTok. Do I have autism?
What?
Today has drained me because I'd be like, what you mean?
Is that
You've been seeing me for 2 years, sis. If I thought you had autism,
I would have said
I
something.
would have been said something to you. And you letting some person you don't know from a can of paint on TikTok tell you that you got autism.
Literally. I'm like, it's,
wow?
and for me, it's kind of like horoscopes. Like, you can always find something that resonates.
Always. Always. You can take one piece of, oh shit, that's me. Every time.
Right. Oof.
Yeah.
So you got to have your boundaries up,
Mm,
right? Because everything that you see
Yeah.
ain't real, period, especially on the internet. Because
correct.
people love to flex, love to
Mm,
front, and love to lack that accountability.
correct. Your discernment got to be real high. Real high.
Sky high.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So last week we was talking about boundaries because you need it, right? Without it, it's like life is you're just raw dogging life.
Correct.
All right.
That's one of my favorite saying, and I know that it is so like crude, but it's like that's what you're doing.
That's cruel.
Raw dogging
Yeah, that's cruel.
could be.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Because like I
This
didn't.
is why I like you.
I'm like, shit. Okay.
I didn't.
My bad.
Oh.
All right. Let me be quiet then. Shit, I got somewhere. Okay. I'm back.
um, so boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
the importance of them. And I know that we talked a lot about like having boundaries with your parents,
Mm-hmm.
which I personally feel like once you are able to set those boundaries with your parents, anyone else can get these boundaries.
Correct.
Period. You
Mm-hmm.
could get it. You could get it. You could get
Mm-hmm.
it. And so, in talking with some clients, I love to use those open ended questions, right? Because that helps them to see that they have full ownership of their lives. Because I think that we're so used to, because of growing up, being told what we're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so as adults, it feels so hard telling your parents no or
Mm-hmm.
setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
And when we don't, that's when we end up doing things and going places and talking to people that don't serve us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to appease others, right? And so my favorite thing to say is like, when you are living your life to please someone else, they're getting two lives and you're
Mm-hmm.
not getting a life.
Mm-hmm.
And people will be like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's your life. You should be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that you're allowing someone else's wants to be above your own, putting it over your needs,
Mm-hmm.
sacrificing your self love, right? Because you're putting yourself in positions where it's unsafe sometimes.
Right.
Maybe family, right? Maybe they are your first bullies.
Usually they
And
are.
your parents are like, hey, you got to come to the family reunion across the
Mhm.
country in the South. No, I don't, because that's unsafe.
Right. Hmm.
So, knowing that you have that ownership of your life and walking in your power,
Hmm.
no. I think I talked about this brand that I was following when I was breastfeeding, and their whole slogan is use your voice, even if it shakes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Say what you have to
Mm.
say. Scared,
Yeah.
say what you have to say. Anxious,
Hmm.
but use your voice. Don't allow anyone to take that from you.
Right.
I
Hmm.
feel like I was on a soapbox.
We appreciate it because you're right. One of the things that I always tell people is when you're not setting boundaries, you're not letting the people around you know or get to know the real you. And so, how can people show up for you, love you, be in healthy relationship with you if they don't even know
Mm.
who you are? And then if they don't know who you are and you don't know who you are, then there's never going to be an opportunity for you to truly have these healthy relationships that you say that you want. Right? Because we say a lot of things, but our actions always align with what it is we say we want. Not always. And so if you want this true love, these true relationships, these true friendships, a part of that is letting people know what your needs are. So then they have an opportunity to meet them.
Because you cannot expect people to read your mind.
No, people are not mind readers.
And people don't have the same expectations
Oh, mm-mm.
of friendships, of relationships. Like, everyone has lived a whole different life up until this point. And
Correct.
so you are doing both of you a disservice by not talking about what it is that you want and need.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have those hard conversations. I tell my clients that all the time.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
yes. But can you do it? Yes.
Absolutely.
Because you could do hard shit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the more that you do the hard shit, the less hard it gets.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like, oh, no, 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 no.
And I was gonna say just that there's a difference between it being comfortable and confrontational.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Agreed.
didn't know. I'm like, I didn't know if you were going to say something else. But yes, because a lot of times people view uncomfortable conversation as confrontation
Yep.
when that is it's not an equal sign.
Mm-hmm.
That it does not have to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
There are uncomfortable topics for sure. Some topics are easier than others,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't have to equal confrontation, argument. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it won't, right? I think for a lot of folks, when setting boundaries, at least like when I work with people, one of the things that I notice is they've played these scenarios in their head of how the conversation is going to go, how the person is going to respond, what they may or may not say. Oh, is they going to stop talking to me? Are they going to this and they going to that? First of all, okay. And, but also like, maybe not. Maybe
Right.
they are going to take a moment, take a step back, and respect this boundary that you set. But if you're so focused on how it's not going to work, you don't talk yourself out of it. So it's
Out
not
of
that
it.
you don't know how to set boundaries, is that you have a fear of setting them because you are concerned about other people's potential responses. Those are two different things.
I know that's right.
Yeah. And you got to focus on what you have control over, and you
Right.
don't have control over other people's responses.
At
I
all.
think we did a good job in that in last week's episode, just expressing how you can set a boundary, you can express how it's the limitations of how you feel safe, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's up to that other person to respect and uphold those boundaries in order to have a relationship with you.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Immediately, yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. But I also think, though, for a lot of people, when we're talking about boundaries, even though, yes, fear of disappointment, fear of how people are going to respond, but I also think oftentimes it has something to do with like this deeper belief about themselves, right? Like if you're somebody who always wants to make sure that other people are happy, so you're always people pleasing, or if you're so used to centering the needs of other people, if you don't feel like your needs are that important, you're going to have a hard time setting boundaries, right? Because, oh, it's okay. It's just me. I want to show up for them, even if people aren't showing up for me, because I want them to feel how I've never felt, or I want them to feel this level of safety that I don't get to feel. So I'm going to anticipate their needs. I'm going to show up. I'm going to say yes to everything instead of like, wait a second, why is that? Is it really about other people, or is this about my intrinsic value or lack thereof, or my belief that I have a lack thereof? Like, what is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
Keyword
Okay.
lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
It's so true because one, people talk themselves out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say that, oh, they're tripping. Oh, like they don't even need to say anything. Like, why make this a big deal?
Right.
Come up with all these different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then also have the nerve to be mad that things are not going the way that they want because they never addressed how they want things to go.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
You see how there's like that disconnect? Like how can you expect someone to do something that you've never told them?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
already doing them a disservice, right? You're already making it hard for them to even be there.
Yeah. Honestly, I see not setting boundaries as a form of self sabotage.
Ooh, talk about it.
For sure.
Because if you know, in order to have a healthy relationship with other people, you have to have this conversation about your needs, about your wants, your expectations, and you actively push against that. And so you don't share with the person what you need. So then your needs don't ever get met. Then you're consumed with all of this frustration, this guilt, this resentment. And then it's going to negatively impact the relationship. Right. So, like, if you don't have that conversation, you can't expect it to happen. But then when it doesn't happen, you pissed off. So you're literally impeding on the possibility of this being a healthy relationship because you think people should read your mind, or you think people should anticipate your needs just because you do it. That's not fair.
It's
And
not.
we'll take that a step further, because I also believe that self-sabotage is self-protection. So you're protecting yourself from something. Because like
Mm-hmm.
once upon a time when I didn't have clear conversations about my expectations in relationships, at first I thought it was just, okay, it's not a big deal, it doesn't matter. But then I realized it was really rooted in like this fear that people are not going to want to meet my needs, that they're not able to meet them. And there was one point in time when it was like, fuck it, I can't depend on people. It's my job to meet all of this. And so I was protecting myself from feeling let down, from feeling disappointment with other people, but I was still feeling disappointed. My
Right.
needs still weren't being met.
Right.
So it was a
Yeah.
protective thing, but it just was still limiting and negatively impacted those relationships.
Would you also describe it as a defense mechanism?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. A
Mm-hmm.
1000%.
Yeah. Because we learned those things early on of like how to
Right.
protect ourselves, defense mechanisms, or what we need to do so that we don't experience certain emotions or experiences again. And so we learn those things as a means of survival, but then those things also impact our ability to really live the lives that we want to live. Because we got to have some discernment, right? Like you can protect yourself and engage in self protection, but you got to know when that self protection is impeding on the ability to have these relationships, or it's
Right.
impacting your ability to show up in the way that you say you want to show up in.
And that's
Mm.
my favorite, the way that you phrase that. The way that you say you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because people say a
Sure.
lot of things, but doing the work to get there, ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to happen.
They be looking real different.
It be looking bleak.
Where they at though?
Because what's going on?
And that's my favorite. And that is my favorite way to help my clients
Yep.
take that accountability.
Yep.
Mm.
Are we doing the things that we say
Yep.
we want to do for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves?
Correct.
Right, right. And if you're listening to this and in the past you've expressed or you've thought and used the words like, I put walls up around me, um, uh, that's another verbiage of what America just said. Your walls are your defense mechanisms. They're your fears that you have built around yourself as a cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you're either going to stifle yourself in it or you're going to break the chrysalis and step into really just having the courage to
Mm-hmm.
not only be yourself but express to people what you need in order to feel safe in this world. And it's chaotic as it is. So what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I love it.
Agree.
So, boundaries, I always say, are important for life and all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Familial, romantic, platonic, all of them require boundaries.
Yeah.
What do you think is a difficult boundary to set in a relationship?
Mm. For me, my experience was how you talk to me.
Mm.
So
Absolutely.
for me, my biggest boundary and success story I have is with my father, who's military veteran. And how you talk to someone to get your point across or to get what you want out of them in the military is vastly different from how you may talk and communicate with a child.
Mm.
But if your adult child doesn't say to you, hey, I didn't enlist in this relationship, quote unquote, then how do you know to kind of curve that? So for me, kind of like what Jasmine was saying earlier, I feel like if I'm able to set that boundary and have my father talk to me correctly and express the love that I know he has, that he shows in so many other ways, if I can get him to better communicate that with me and for what I need, then I'll be damned if my man talks to me crazy.
Oh no.
Period. I was born on a day, but it wasn't yesterday. So,
Okay.
bitch, try again.
Okay.
Let's go to the drawing board.
Okay.
Let's let's circle this back because that wasn't it. That
Correct.
wasn't
Wasn't. I'm looking around
from
for
that.
who the fuck you talking
Okay.
to.
I'm really quick to do that. Like,
I literally will look under the table because you. Who is it?
Because it can't be me. It just can't be.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think in relationships in general, it's just that I need to be able to do what I need to do.
Mm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how you feel about it.
Period.
I need to be able to hang out with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it.
Right.
In the past, when I was not where I am in terms of emotional intelligence, in terms of maturity, oh no, I'm not gonna be able to go out.
Mm.
For what? To do what?
Mm-mm.
And then when the relationship over and everybody is closer, where are you?
Correct.
Oh, right, because you cut
Mm-hmm.
everybody off.
Yeah.
No.
Correct.
Which isn't healthy to begin with, but that's another
Right.
discussion.
I'm like, that is called abusive.
Correct.
Yeah.
It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't always have to be getting beat up.
Mhm.
No,
Someone
it doesn't.
cutting you off from your support is abusive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Maintaining your identity, your really, yeah, your identity and what makes you you when you're in romantic relationships is so necessary. There's really just, it's necessary. And if you're not able to do that in the relationship you're in, then you got to evaluate what the boundaries are in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or the relationship.
Period. Okay.
I love
Oh,
to tell my clients like every relationship is not the end all be all. Maybe
Correct.
they just show you like a nice restaurant to take your next boo to. Period.
right.
Correct.
A season and a
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about friendships? Has there been any difficulty in setting boundaries in friendships?
I in the last couple of years, I've cut friends off. Um,
Same.
yeah. Uh, I hate to say the story of I cut uh, some of my gay friends out because they were MAGA supporters. I know that that's like not what the people want to hear, but at the end of the day, the story
I just need that to make sense, but and no, it won't. But
That
anyway,
will never make sense to
it
me.
won't.
it
What in
didn't
the
Same as the
actual
black
fuck?
people,
it
same as the
didn't
Latin folks.
you know
Like
what?
it.
It
What?
didn't, and that was one of the contingencies. This is someone that I realized that in undergrad we had all the fun in the world, right? We knew each other,
Yeah.
both waiting tables at Olive Garden, and
Okay, Olive Garden, breadsticks.
and you graduate, you get your real jobs, you go to Vegas, you hang out. But there comes a certain point in adulthood where, as I, in my experience, am growing into the woman I am, there's boundaries. And at that contentious time a few years ago, where, and even now, like our rights, everything's kind of just up in the air. Um, it was a lot going on. And for me to set a boundary of, hey, when you post this MAGA stuff or when you wear MAGA paraphernalia as a white man, this is what it conveys to all of us. This is what it shows. And even though you're gay, when you go out in public and you do what I would call like the straight voice,
Right.
uh, to other people, and I see what it is. It was his defense mechanism. But my
Right.
whole, like, just be yourself. You're with us. We love you for you. Um, but I set a boundary and I was like, hey, this is the boundary I'm setting for our relationship for me to feel safe being your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gaslit. Our whole group
Of
was gaslit.
course.
We
I'm
were
like,
gas.
you thought
I
that
mean,
was gonna blow over well?
I
And take
thought
accountability, girl.
we
Immediately
all
no.
vacation together. We were at my godparents' beach house. So like you're in my family's home and we have like this big talk and it's just a group of friends. And you'd think it went well, and then everyone goes home, and within 48 hours, another MAGA post on IG. And
Mm.
from
Of course.
there, it was like, not only did you gaslight me in our relationship, but you're not respecting a boundary that I've set.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I want to explain that it's not about necessarily who you cast your vote for in the ballot box. It's okay, maybe it's that too, but
Right. I'm like, if you
Okay,
voted
shit, it
for
is for
him,
me.
I'm
it
like,
definitely
if
is
you
that.
voted for him, like, fuck that.
Correct,
It's
because it
all
matters to me.
it's all
Literally.
the yeah, no, it is. It's
He literally stands
it's
for evil.
everything
Like no one
right.
sees MAGA supporters as like, oh my God, they're such great, like proud Americans. Like they stand for fucking hate. So
Right.
no.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and that was a boundary that I had to set, that ultimately if I can accept you as you, and you living openly as a gay man at this point in your adult fucking life, that you should do the same for yourself. And if you can't, if you're going to fall into what's easily, oh, well, back home, my small Republican town, that's how everyone votes, whoop, whoop, whoop. That's how I was raised. And then if we're going to fall back to those small tropes and you're not going to love and respect yourself, then I can't have a
Then by the
relationship.
way,
Yeah, I can't have a relationship with you.
Correct.
So that was a really hard friendship boundary that I had to place.
Mhm.
And ultimately, um, our relationship didn't make it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that that person hasn't reached out to me multiple times over the last couple of years. I just haven't found it in myself to push back my boundary in order to let them back into my life.
Mhm.
And that was growth that I realized that I had made from a 22-year-old when we met to a 28-year-old when we broke up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And sometimes people can bring it back together and sometimes people can't. And setting that boundary for yourself and saying, like, hey, they weren't able to meet my needs, then I might not even need to have another conversation in the future.
Correct.
And being
Yeah.
okay with that and sitting with that.
Hmm.
Obviously, go through the feelings that comes with ending those relationships, but you
Mhm.
have to choose yourself.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single time.
I just want to say for the record, just for context, I knew that this relationship was in danger when it was said to me, well, in rebuttal, well, you support Black Lives Matter and I haven't said anything to you about it.
Motherfucker.
Like,
I don't have
what?
anything nice to say. So,
What?
I'm just going to just, yeah.
But it's just, you know
Oh,
what it's the I can, and I had to explain to another adult that I can support Black Lives
I'm
Matter.
actually not explaining to another adult.
or
I'm not.
anybody else for that matter. But I
But
appreciate the effort you put into this relationship because
I did. I did. And I say all this because there's someone out there that's going to listen to this and they are the type that like relationships are important and they want to fight for them and hold on to it because of the good times. But when you reach a point of your personal growth, when yeah, you set these boundaries and they're not upheld, and then someone throws something so blatant in your face to hurt you, you just got to let it go.
Let it go. And the memories don't have to go. You can still keep the
No,
memories, but
yeah,
they don't need to come with you until 2023. Sorry.
right. Or in that case, 2021.
and I'm
Child, September.
I'm gonna say this before I tell my team. You can't care more about a relationship lasting and more than the other person.
At
Right. So
all.
like Jasmine with the E, you in this relationship, you explaining your morals and values, you having conversations, even though it goes completely against what it is you say you believe in, you continuing to allow this person in your space and they still was doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. You share
Right.
with them multiple times that this thing, that these conversations, that these IG posts were offensive to you and they were harmful and they were hurtful, and he
Right.
continued to do it. So also value relationships. But then I think it's also important, and everybody's threshold is different. Because when Baby Boy said to
Hmm.
me, you supporting Black Lives Matter, that would have
That
been
would have been it.
but
I'm not even going
everybody's
to
threshold is
explain
different.
it. I'm
Yeah.
not even
Well,
explaining.
hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello, what you thought? But
Dirt.
okay, but everybody's threshold is different, so I understand that. But I will also say that one thing that we have to remember is that it takes more than just you in order to have a successful and a healthy relationship. And if you are
Right.
the one that's pulling all of the weight, you are carrying the burden of the success of this relationship on your shoulders, it is
Ooh.
never going to work. I explain it to my clients as you being on a seesaw. If you're on a seesaw, the seesaw requires both people to have their feet on the ground, going up and down. If one person gets off the seesaw, what happens?
It don't work.
It don't work. You go flat to the bottom. The other part is in the air, and it is now your job to keep that seesaw level. This other person that went and swung on the swings. They done went up and down the slides. They run up and down. They talking to other people, and you were still in that spot trying
And they
to
went
make this
home.
seesaw look. Done went home, got some juice, some water, took a nap, and you still sitting there trying to get this seesaw to operate the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you pissed off because they don't went and enjoyed the rest of their day. Meanwhile, you sunburned, you tired, you hot, you
Ain't had
sweaty,
no
ain't
lunch.
had no lunch. You didn't do all the things you wanted to do because you were so invested in keeping this thing working.
Mm.
And for what?
And oh, America, and that the saying that you said about like having all the stuff in your hand and you can't grab nothing else.
What you gonna do? What you gonna
How,
do?
how are
Yeah.
you gonna welcome the
How?
mutual friends that you don't have to say like, "Hey, my Black life matters,"
Exactly.
if you
Literally.
are too busy holding on to people that you have to explain that to?
Exactly. Because I know people like when was it 2016? When 2016 happened, people were like, well, no, I still love my friend and I still want to maintain this relationship. How and why? Because we got to remember that your political, your moral values are still your values, right? And
Right.
so if you value life and humanity and love and trust and all of these things and the rights of other people, but then the people that you're friends with believe in the complete opposite, y'all not aligned. And
At
that's
all.
okay. That's just not your friend. They might have been up until then, but I think for a lot of people during that time was when they started to realize, like, oh shit, we're having superficial conversations with the people that we call friends. And we're not
Right.
really having these boundaries with them because if we did, they would know this ain't okay with me.
Yeah. Superficial being the key word in my situation. Yeah, because you should be able to have uncomfortable conversations with the people that you care about.
Yep.
And
And one
not be gaslit.
step back, right? Exactly. When I was able to take a step back, I realized really, other than the partying, the fun times, what substance was there? What was I
Mm,
walking?
Hello.
get into it.
Hello.
Yeah,
Because then you're like, oh, what am I really holding on for?
Right.
Because
right.
if in this season of my life, when I am not trying to get blackout drunk every fucking weekend,
Mhm.
like that means that we can't be friends?
Tra-
Oh, no. How
Right.
about I'll do you one better?
Right. Mhm.
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
that's just that on that.
I didn't mean to step on your example, Jasmine, with the E, but I just wanted to say that because I think that's really important for people to hear
No,
too. Everybody's threshold gonna be different, but then we also got to remember like we're not responsible as single people to uphold a relationship.
of
And a lot
course.
of people put that pressure on themselves too, and like that's not fair.
Mhm.
That's not fair at all.
I think one of my defense mechanisms from my childhood is giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm,
So even if and when they did hurt me,
Mm,
I had already expected the disappointment
mm-hmm,
and prepared for it. So when I was disappointed, I was able to kind of just take that on the chin and keep rolling with it because eventually it'll work. I don't know. Um, so learning that through my personal experiences, that situation, although it's a weird one to share. I'm proud of myself.
yeah.
as you should be, because you chose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
Right.
like you said something that I tweeted about it. So I wanted to share my tweet. But I said right before I turned 30, which aligns with your timeline also, I
Okay.
learned not to put shit past people. Don't ever think somebody wouldn't do you any type of way because people can, will, and do. Focus
Mm.
on discernment when deciding on who to surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's that on
We love to hear it.
that.
Okay, I'm gonna share my two. And my two are both for romantic and for friendship relationships. And they both are technically my emotional boundaries. So one of those is feeling safe enough to both ask for and accept for people's help. So
Mm.
I know we talked a little bit in was it the first one or the second one?
Is perfection.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was perfection.
So about perfectionism. And for me, perfectionism tends to show up as fuck it, I got it. Don't worry about it, I'll figure it out. And a lot of that is rooted in childhood. I watched my mom be a fuck it, I'll figure it out type of gal. And make shit happen. So my mindset has always been I got me if don't nobody else do. So that has been my wall. And so what I've learned is I have to be willing to ask people for help and then actually allow them to help me in those situations. And so there is a level of safety that has to be present for me in order to do that. And a little bit of that is being in relationship with people where they help and then don't throw it back up. So a boundary for me is if I ask you for help and you're able to do so, this is not something that should come back up in any sort of conflict. Right. So like if I'm saying, oh, I need you to help me with whatever, and you choose to do it, I don't want to hear it again. Like,
Right.
That's it. And so that has been hard for me because it then means that I'm now, sometimes I feel like I am relying on other people, but then I realize this is interdependence and this is what it's supposed to be. So I can both depend on myself and depend on the people around me. And that has been instrumental in at least my romantic relationship. Right. Okay. Hey, man. Anyway, so that has been instrumental in my romantic relationship because one of the things he noticed from Gate was like, damn, you do a lot of shit. And I was like, do I? He was like, you do.
And that right much. There, the do I. Not
yeah, I was like, do I?
You got so much on your plate. So earlier when you said something about having so many speaking engagements, but it should be more, I was like, friend,
give me the answer.
Should you be working every day of your life? No.
Right. I should not. We've been having that conversation recently too. But
shout out to your man.
Shout out to him. Anyway, so you do a lot of shit. And I was like, damn, do I? Because it don't feel like I do a lot of shit. Like I just be doing the shit. And literally he was like, I got it. So then there's this shit that he like just took off. And I was like, damn.
Oh, that's love.
I was like, I know. No, but anyway, I was like, damn, you just gonna do shit? And like, I don't have to.
Just gonna do what you say you gonna do?
And I don't have to ask you to do it.
Ooh, like you walk and get loved unconditionally, right?
Yeah. Like you just walked in here and was like, oh, I see shit that need to be done. So I'm gonna do it. Okay.
That's it.
All right. And at first it made y'all, I was so aggravated. Cause why are you touching shit? Why are you doing shit? Right? Like stop doing shit. And then I remember at one point I like, stop doing shit. He said, okay, bet. And he stopped for like 2 seconds. And I was like, why the fuck you stop? He's like, because you told me to stop. And I was like, oh, no. It's the trauma response. Let me explain. So then I explained, right? But it was like, that is how he's shown up. And he has shown up like that consistently. And that for me is really important because now when I need something, I'm probably OD aggravating. I'm like, babe, can you, babe, I need, can you,
honey, can you?
Will you, do you mind? Can you, thank you,
ooh.
I know he'd be like,
God damn, she needs something else.
Right, like this one from not asking for nothing to now she need every goddamn thing. But I feel safe, right? I feel safe and I know that you're going to do it and I don't have to hear about it for the next 45 minutes or it's not going to be this big thing. And that for me is really important. In friendship, same way. There was one point in the pandemic, I was really struggling around like sleep and anxiety and like seeing the 40 people a week and not leaving the house. I don't think I left the house for like 4 months. And so, and I didn't see people in person during that time. So like that time I was really struggling and I had a friend who I literally would call at night and be like, hey. And I never even told her. I don't think I ever told her what was going on, but she would literally talk to me on the phone until I went to sleep because I was struggling that much with like resting my mind and my body that she would talk to me until I fell asleep. She did that every night for like 6 months.
Shout out to your friend.
Shout out to her. And she listened too. So she gonna know I'm talking about her.
Hey friend.
Hey girl.
Hey.
But like that was so, and she has not, now I don't know if she done talked about other people she has, that's her business. She'll text me after she hear this and let me know. But she's never thrown it back up to me.
And that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are scared to ask for help for fear that they'll throw that in your face. Well, remember when I did this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was like, but okay, you ain't threw it back up to me, you know. We can't control if people talk about it to other people, but you ain't saying nothing to me about it. So it works for me. And I am thankful and appreciative for that time because baby thought she was gonna have to go on a grippy socks vacation for a little second. So
Oh, and I'm glad that you had the support and that you allowed your
yes,
friend to be there for you during
absolutely.
that time because sometimes we struggle in silence
Yes.
and want people to be there for us but not give
Yes.
them the opportunity to.
Opportunity. Yep. And I remember thanking her one time for it, and she was like, I've known you for 10 plus years, and bitch, you ain't never asked me to do nothing. Never.
Mm.
You've never said a word. You the one that like I be thinking like, maybe she going through something, but you don't say a word. And she was like, so when you call, I knew like, all right, this is my chance. Like I get to show up for you now. Okay, bet. So that was been like that was instrumental for me. And I think in with both of those relationships, but also another emotional boundary for me is being able to be vulnerable, right? Because it kind of goes hand in hand. Like asking for help requires a certain level of vulnerability. Like you are admitting in that moment that you ain't got it or that
Right.
you need support around something. And for
Right.
somebody like me, that is hard because
Hard.
baby girl be having it
Especially being
together.
the healer, being the
Correct.
healer. And
Correct.
so, like I've talked about the friends
Mm-hmm.
that I have now, being safe, saying, like, hey, I'm struggling with this,
Mm-hmm.
and them actually providing support.
Right.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
would go through shit in silence, be crying, be on my damn little throwaway Twitter tweeting my
Mm.
feelings, you know, because I didn't feel like I could come to anyone because
Right.
I'm the one that people come to.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
now being able to have people that surround me in love,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
top tier.
it is. And that is the hardest part, being the healer, being the one that people perceive as having it all together, being the one that some people might say is more successful, whatever the case may be.
Right,
Like when people
right,
hold you to the standard, no, you
right.
got it. You I text you and ask you how you doing. You ain't never text me and say how I'm doing.
Ain't ever. And that's a boundary for me. If I'm the only one reaching out, checking in,
Yeah, it's
fuck that.
dead.
It's a
It's
no.
dead. I done deaded a lot of shit on that this year. It's dead. Cause bitch, me too. I'm in a pandemic too. Bitch, I'm
Right.
black too. I'm struggling too. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in the house by
I can't,
myself too.
literally.
It ain't just you, ho. Like it's me too. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Z. 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 Mhm. Absolutely. Mhm.
I just want to co-sign all of that.
Oh, let me say something. I wasn't really going to take a grippy socks vacation for anybody who is concerned. I am
It's
okay.
the disclaimer for
I just
you.
wanted that because I don't want to hear. I promise I'm
Right.
okay. I was not going to take a grippy socks vacation. Maybe there was a 10-second moment where I was like, damn, I'm going to have to, but no, I'm okay. I promise.
Right.
Okay.
Therapists were doctors
God
and
forbid I needed us.
so
No, man. Because
Right.
you know, they dragging sis because she said she was struggling. So that's why I wanted to wait a second.
Oh, they did say that?
Oh yeah, she posted yesterday that she has been experiencing SI for years and comments were still dragging. How you a therapist
Because
keep
people
thinking
don't
about
give a
hurting yourself? What you mean?
And see, that's my hugest thing because
Yep.
people act like mental illness literally discriminates. No,
No.
right.
anybody can get it.
Anybody. You get depression. You get SI. You get intrusive thoughts. You get like it's what? Anybody.
Yeah.
So
that that leads me to this whole them holding therapists at a higher standard, but I don't feel like having that conversation right now
that's okay.
because
We can ignore that because that's an important one to have.
it
It is.
is because motherfuckers are people.
Correct.
Right.
Y'all don't do that shit to doctors. Y'all
And
don't do
don't.
that shit to CEOs.
And don't. And don't. It's just what it is.
Anywho.
I feel like all the people that were throwing rocks at this therapist were people that nine times out of 10 have not been to therapy themselves.
And need to.
and need to. And so all we're doing was feeling hit, right? Like you throw a rock into a pack of dogs,
A
you hit
hit
one.
dog
Yeah.
gonna holler.
And I felt like all of the dogs that were hit based on what she was saying hollered. And instead of being like, ooh, this is uncomfortable, maybe I should seek out to go talk to somebody. And not
Right.
everything is a good fit,
Right.
you know? So if you're a therapist, and I'm sure she doesn't talk to her clients like that in practice, but if it's not a good fit, then shop around.
Yeah.
I always tell people that
Mm-hmm.
this is your journey, this is your life. So,
Right.
like everything else, take ownership. If this is not working, say something.
Mhm.
Right.
Boundaries.
Correct.
Straight up.
Mhm.
And
None
that's
at
what
all. Boundaries.
I'm at, that boundaries with every relationship, every human interaction, including the therapeutic alliance.
Mhm.
Period.
I was watching Carmisha Please. Uh,
Risha.
and her
Carisha.
and Megan Thee Stallion were having a talk. And she had mentioned that I didn't realize that her baby's father had passed away,
Mhm.
saying that she had to continue working and didn't really feel or get to heal and deal with those feelings. And that she had tried to go to therapy, but she said she went to one session,
Yeah, one
tried
session.
and
Mhm.
then tried to go back a second session, but didn't like that the therapist was telling her how she felt.
Right.
And I just, as much as I enjoyed the episode, I hated, like, I guess as a therapist, be like, ooh, because in our culture, like, we need to be able to have open forums and not continue to limit ourselves on like therapy is some BS.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I wish I could have told her, like, hey, well, if that therapist, if you felt like they were doing that, then you should have just tried someone else, because
Right.
we're not here to give advice. We're not here to tell you how to feel. If anything, we should be asking questions in order for you to look at your experience from as many
Right.
different as you can, until ultimately you get to that aha moment of like, oh, that's the root of it.
Mhm.
That's bothering me. And once we get there, we can unravel and we can heal. So
Right.
yeah, I hate that that was her experience.
And I hope that she actually does go back, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because it
Yeah.
really can be life changing with the right person. Shout out to my girl, Jasmine.
But I think that's the important part too. Like, I'm not gonna negate her experience because there's a high ass probability that was her experience. But
Mm-hmm.
also remembering, like, every therapist is going to look different. Every therapist approach is going to be different, right? And so even if it didn't work with that one, or if you don't like our good sis from TikTok and that makes you not want to go to therapy, the reality is all of us show up very differently, both
Mm-hmm.
Right.
online and in session. And I think that's important. But that also really ties into this conversation about boundaries because everybody's boundaries are going to look different too. And there's
Yeah.
no one clear way and there's no one set way to do them. Like, it's going to look different for each person and they may look different for each relationship that you have. And if it
Right.
doesn't work in one arena, it doesn't mean, well, fuck it, I ain't gonna set boundaries no more. It just means that you got to learn how to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Flexible people, that is the word of the week. Flexibility. You have to be flexible with these conversations and what it looks like and make some changes. And that's okay. Not working don't mean say fuck it. It just mean I need to adjust. But we
Right.
take that as, oh, well, that must mean that God's saying I don't need to do this. So I just ain't gonna do it no more. No, it means you need to adjust and try something different.
Literally.
That way you can get the result you're looking for.
My first therapist used to say, um, you just make adjustments and move accordingly. And I
Yes,
was like, I know that's right. I
exactly.
will.
Uh, yeah.
But people are so like, oh, but I made this decision. I gotta stick to it. I set this boundary. And even though it's not working, I gotta stick to it. No, you don't. If something isn't working, you don't have to stick to it. You can always
Literally.
give yourself permission to do something different. And that's okay. With more information, you're gonna change your mind. that's okay. So do that.
Right. Yes.
That's just
Well, I hope that you all got something out of this conversation. And if anything, just keep us in the back of your head saying boundaries. Like when you don't want to do some shit that you don't want to do, but you're saying yes, boundaries. No,
Mhm.
you're not going to
mm,
get that time back. Set those boundaries.
Can we all say one thing we want people to know about boundaries? Because I think boundaries are really tricky for us. And so, like, one thing you want people to know, or you wish people knew about boundaries?
You go first.
Okay. One of the most common things I hear people say is they want to set these boundaries, but it goes back to this fear of disappointing other people or this fear of hurting people's feelings. And what I want people to know is there is no way to set boundaries without hurting other people's feelings. The
mm,
reality is we are not responsible for the feelings of other people. And so when we try to be responsible for them and we try to anticipate their potential responses, that doesn't make you kind. It doesn't mean that you're empathetic. It doesn't mean that you care about people more. It just means that you are carrying this responsibility and this burden of all of your relationships. You're trying to solve other people's shit. You're trying to make other people comfortable while you're uncomfortable. So my thing would be know that you can care about other people's feelings and still set boundaries with folks. It's not an
Right.
either or.
Right. And I want to just piggyback off of that and just say that you don't know how anyone is going to respond.
At all.
So don't
yeah,
let that be driving you from trying to have those conversations. You're
yeah.
not the same person as them. So don't do that to yourself. Something that I want people to know about boundaries is that yes, it is hard initially to set those boundaries, but it doesn't get easier by avoiding setting those boundaries. And so you just have to do the shit. Set the boundaries. Do it even if it is scary and hard. Like the more that you set boundaries, the easier it gets. But it's not going to get easier if you avoid it.
I agree. All right. To round this out, uh, I would say setting clear and healthy boundaries ultimately helps you heal and it enriches your relationships.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I've appreciated this conversation because y'all know one thing I'm gonna do is set them boundaries.
Period.
Period. So hopefully you all got some good insight into how to set boundaries, the type of boundaries you should be setting, and some encouragement to start setting those boundaries. And just remember, you can drink the kale drinks. You can go for 7 mile runs. I don't know why you would do that, but to each its own.
Good.
You could do CrossFit. You could do Pilates like Jasmine, you know. But if you're ignoring the things going on in your head and in your heart, then you're still not truly healthy. So go ahead and seek therapy. Literally, in 2022, we all need to seek therapy. Okay. Shout out to my girl Jasmine doing the Lord's work. Go ahead and pull up on your own Jasmine or whatever name you can find, but find you a little therapist. We will see y'all next week and take good care. Bye.
Bye.